This morning, new fallout after
This is, I love leak messages expose young Republicans' racist chat. To me, when I hear stuff like this, like a group of young Republicans unrestrained in a Telegram chat, we're talking about how much they love is basically a dog bites man story. It's just every day. It's an everyday normal part of our existence. Okay. What's been also expected, even though it was, I guess, shocking for some of the chatters in here as well, is that the Republicans are defending it. The Republicans are defending it. What's even funnier than the Republicans defending it, like J.D. Vance, has, of course, been Jonathan Greenblatt. Okay? The ADL totally ignored, refused to comment on Elon Musk's latest great replacement conspiracy rant. Dozens of anti-Semitic comments and Holocaust jokes from young Republicans leak. The White House downplays it and defends people who made them. And the ADL and Jonathan Greenblatt say nothing, just like they dismissed Musk's clear-as-day Nazi salute as an awkward gesture. See how the ADL works, says Adam Johnson. And with all of the pressure on ADL to at least say something, okay? And remember, Jonathan Greenblatt has called me, someone who has spent his entire professional career combating anti-Semitism, me, a vile anti-Semite, equivalent to Kanye West's praise for Adolf Hitler. Okay? So what did Jonathan Greenblatt actually say about the Politico report? Let's take a look. Because, you know, I am an anti-Zionist, but also I abhor anti-Semitism. So what did Jonathan Greenblatt have to say about a group of young Republicans that were talking about how much they love Adolf Hitler, okay, making gas chamber jokes and like that? What was reported in Politico is offensive and very concerning, but I'm also glad that many leaders, including Elise Stefanik and Representative Mike Lawler, spoke out strongly and swiftly against these hateful statements. This is what leadership looks like and is how decency and morality can be modeled. Doesn't mention anti-Semitism, just vague, offensive, and very concerning comments. Doesn't mention Trump or the White House who defended these people. Zero calls to action, just hand-wringing. Jonathan Greenblatt has spent the last 2 years of Israel's genocide trying to get me deplatformed. Okay? He has been able to successfully deplatform other anti-Zionists who have also actively combated anti-Semitism. Because the ADL is the Apartheid Defense League, first and foremost. The only thing that they care about is defending not Jewish people or combating anti-Semitism, but simply to weaponize false anti-Semitism allegations so that they can deplatform critics of Israel. That's it. Why does a self-described anti-Semitism watchdog and leading anti-hate organization in the world keep ignoring Republican anti-Semitism? Because they're a Zionist party. And to the ADL, this is all that matters because they're a pro-Israel lobbying group, not a civil rights group. Okay? And the only reason why Jonathan Greenblatt, after a 48-hour news cycle went by with J.D. Vance, the vice president, defending this, the only reason why Jonathan Greenblatt finally said this wishy-washy-ass statement is because he got pressured into it. Okay? Anyway, here's Adam Mockler talking about Charlie Kirk's producer refusing to condemn the young Republican group chat on stage and getting yelled at by Adam Mockler.
Listen, there has been a trend of, I think, you know, let's just say, let's be gracious and say, in the era of Trump, maybe it's a reaction to Trump. I'm open to those discussions. But there is a justification for political violence. It shows up in every poll, and it's coming from progressives.
I have spent all of my formative years watching the President of the United States talk about the opposition party like they shouldn't exist. His claim to fame in U.S. politics was saying that Obama wasn't born in America. That is how he entered the political stage. He was famous before that, but that was his claim to fame. He was the first presidential candidate to ever chant "lock her up" on a political.
Adam Mockler is my favorite lib, for the record. I don't hide it. I am a fan of Midas Touch, as you guys know, despite our obvious disagreements on key issues. And I think he does a pretty good job. Like, he is what Destiny wishes he was. Okay? He sticks it to the Republicans. He does not he does not shy away from doing that. There are some instances where I think he because he's like a DNC operative, there are some instances where like he'll do like unnecessary concessions, but ultimately Hasan suspiciously has a lot of favorite libs. Wait, what? No, this is the one. I don't have a lot of other liberals that I defend actively.
Stage. He tried to coup our government. Well, and I live in this, let me finish. Listen. I live in the city of Chicago. Donald Trump over the past 2 months has not only posted an AI video of Obama being arrested, but then after that, he posted an AI image of Chicago being invaded. After that, he sent the National Guard to Chicago. So I've spent my formative years watching the president do this. And just think about this. We saw these Nazi group chats, which I'm sure you condemn, right? This Nazi group chat.
Well, we can talk about it.
Do you condemn it?
I want to talk about it.
Wait, so when they said gas chambers,
disavow.
When they say gas chambers, you won't. So you're like JD Vance. You just won't condemn this?
Well, I actually had JD on the show today. We had a whole conversation.
You guys can all condemn this, right?
Hell yes.
Thank you.
Hold on.
All right.
Hold on.
But
Chris, can you condemn that?
Here's the point, of course. But that's easy. What
Not
I'm
for him. But you know what? This is.
It's so funny that he's like, do you disavow pro-Hitler statements coming from Republican Party operatives? And Republicans are just like, I don't know about that. I mean, come on. It's just like, whatever. Whatever. I mean, who amongst us hasn't had a moment like that? You know what I mean?
It's not constructive, right?
Because what the constructive part is not, this is what, look, what's happening here, and I know both of you guys, and I want to bring Joe.
Of course, Cuomo's trying to defend the Republican on the panel here, like the overt Republican current existing Turning Point USA guy on the panel by being like, it's not constructive. It's not. Not gonna lie, it feels kind of good to finally be doing condemnation politics after being the recipient of it for 2 years since 10/7. Yeah, but once again, there are things that people cynically present as condemnation politics. When people go, do you condemn Hassan Abi Piker for what he said? And then they insert things that are completely ridiculous, where they'll be like, oh, he's an anti-Semite. Do you condemn Hassan Abi Piker, who's anti-Semitic? Like, there is a reason to say that's, you're saying that about him because he's anti-Israel, not because he's anti-Semitic. He is not anti-Semitic at all. But yeah, of course, if I was running around in private group chats being like Adolf Hitler is awesome or whatever which obviously I would never do that because it's an insane position to have. It's a gross and violent position to have. Okay, then yeah, that's condemnable. It makes sense. It makes sense.
In on this, and I want to get to the audience, but let's just be clear about.
What's the defense for you for that one? I wonder. I mean, here, the easiest defense for it is exactly what the France Unbowed Party members said on French national television after I interviewed Mélenchon. In the aftermath of that interview, French national television was like, "Oh, you, Saul." Oh, you were interviewed by a famous anti-Semitic podcaster, Hasan Piker, and the dude straight up on TV said, no, you say that about everyone who is anti-Israel and everyone who is anti-genocide. Okay? Let's talk about the issues that actually matter, which is Israel's genocide and this government's contributions to Israel's genocide. That's it. That's the appropriate pushback to it because it's just ridiculous. It is so transparent. Like, there are certainly those out there who take advantage of the reduced, like that take advantage of like the anti-Israel sentiment in an effort to craft elaborate conspiracy theories about, Jewish control or engage in anti-Semitic shit. Okay? And anti-Semitic posturing. I'm not one of those people. What I always demand from people is to be honest and to be truthful. That's all. That's the bare minimum. If someone is cynically posturing as though their opposition is being anti-Semitic or whatever, you should call it out. Would you condemn Kaya if she said Nazi stuff in group chats? She would never. I've raised my daughter well.
Where the path is forward. The comparison of which is worse is killing.
Anyway.
The leak of racist text messages linked to members of young Republican groups across the country. The website Politico says it obtained 7 months' worth of messages from a group chat in which racist and anti-Semitic slurs were used more than 250 times.
It's awful, it's revolting, it's disgusting, it's obnoxious.
Politico says Peter Junta, who was the chair of the New York State Young Republicans, allegedly wrote in a text message, "Everyone that votes no is going to the gas chamber." In another exchange, Junta reportedly responded,
"It's ironic because this is what the ADL was designed for. Like just this. The ADL's purpose is to call out this. That's what it's supposed to be. It's like that's what it billed itself as. And in its origin, that's what this was supposed to be, the ultimate goal, which is whenever someone is like very obviously being anti-Semitic, you go, hey, this is wrong. Except they are so predisposed over there with like defending Israel and cynically weaponizing false anti-Semitism allegations against critics of Israel that they don't do the one thing that they're supposed to be doing, especially at a time when there's like an unprecedented rise of anti-Semitic conspiracies. So good job. Yeah. It's crazy. They don't name, how many times have they named me personally as the arch anti-Semite, both on television and also online? How many times? Meanwhile, they won't even name names on this. Like, oh, who's the one who defended these statements? Is the vice president.
Great. I love Hitler during a discussion about backing a right-wing candidate. Some Republicans have denounced the language, while Vice President J.D. Vance dismissed the messages as edgy, offensive jokes.
We're not canceling kids because they do something stupid in a group chat.
But reports say at least 8 of the 11 participants in the group
the kids
chat are between 24 and 34 years old and include a state senator from Vermont and a federal official. Some participants apologizing, while others claim the messages were taken out of context or doctored. California Governor Gavin Newsom is demanding a congressional investigation, but Vice President J.D. Vance says some Democrats have said worse and says there should not be a rush to judgment.
By the way, if they were left-wing kids telling stupid left-wing jokes, I would also not want their lives to be ruined because they're saying something stupid.
What? Oh, okay. Oh, hell no. That is the biggest lie. Okay. That is the literal biggest lie of all time. The State Department revoked the visas of 7 people that are on American soil right now with their existing visas. They took away their visas because of what they had said about Charlie Kirk. That happened 2 days ago on the birthday of Charlie Kirk. The State Department Trump's State Department has already stopped issuing visas to people for saying things about Charlie Kirk to begin with. That's
At least 3 of the people involved have now lost their jobs, and the Vermont Republican governor is now calling on that state senator to resign.
He is married to a woman of Indian descent.
Yes.
He has mixed race children.
Yes.
So to all of the MAGA voters out there, if this man will not defend his wife and will not defend his kids, do you think he gives a crap about you or anything to do with you?
The vice president is doubling down on his defense of the...
Was an incredible take, to which Republicans immediately tried to do this like, oh, how dare you? Disgusting commentary from Jennifer Welsh on MSNBC. J.D. Vance is married to a woman of Indian descent. He has mixed race children. So to all the MAGA voters out there, if this man will not defend his wife and will not defend his kids, do you think he gives a crap about you? Okay? And I dunked on this moment. So you're mad because she's 100% right. Okay? She ate, left no crumbs. That's my goat. Okay? I've had it. I've had it with this bull. Get out of town.
Young Republicans involved in a leaked chat.
No more pearl clutching from cynical right-wing political operatives. I'm sick and tired of this bull. We have to... Asman called her racist for that take. That's so funny. Yeah, Asman. I'm sure he knows what racism is. He's like, after all... Asman goes like, I know what racism is. After all, I do it every day.
That used hundreds of slurs and joked about slavery, gas chambers, and rape. On social media, J.D. Vance says that he refused to join the pearl clutching and played whataboutism with Democrats. But after a night to sleep on it, this is how he described the Republican operatives, at least one of whom is an actual elected official.
Grow up. I'm sorry. Focus on the real issues. Don't focus on what kids say in group chats. The reality is that kids do stupid things, especially young boys. They tell edgy, offensive jokes. Like, that's what kids do. And I really don't want us to grow up in a country where a kid telling a stupid joke, telling a very offensive stupid joke, is cause to ruin their lives. And at some point, we're all going to have to say, enough of this BS.
Now, keep in mind, the texters referred to black people as monkeys and watermelon people. They fantasized about raping enemies and driving them to suicide. They supported slavery and sending political opponents to gas chambers to, quote, watch people burn now. Now, here is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at CNN's town hall tonight talking about Republicans and the influence that they have on social media.
They have been successful because they have also been very clear, especially digitally, about what they believe. That women are inferior, that they do not deserve equal rights, that they believe that LGBTQ Americans are subhuman, that they believe and are circulating disgusting racial and white supremacist messaging that they are able to get away with digitally and online.
Joining us at the table is Camille Foster. He's the editor-at-large at Tangle. Camille, what do you make of what she said there and how it relates to this conversation about the liberty and the freedom with which these guys thought that they could spew this kind of stuff without any kind of consequences?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, Abby, first and foremost. I have a lot of issues with the conversation around this particular story. I would tend to agree the comments in the thread ought to be condemned universally. But this is like kind of what you would expect, this kind of idiot, LARPing, edgelord nonsense inside of a private group chat. I think the words you used a moment ago, that they think they could say this sort of thing risk-free, consequence-free. Well, they were saying it in private. And
is woke coming back? Is woke actually coming back? I hope, man. I want woke to make a comeback so bad, because anti-woke is like, I'm annoyed by woke too, right? I'm annoyed by woke too, but if there's like a woke and anti-woke force out there, I much prefer woke over anti-woke, okay? 100%. It turns out when corporations were like, oh, we're not going to give you funding if you say openly, transparently racist shit. It turns out that really did keep a lot of monsters at bay. It turns out that shit was the only thing holding back some of these Hitlerian freaks, dude. And I say this as someone who would regularly get annoyed at woke. Okay? I yelled at woke all the time at the peak of woke.
And I'm sure they were saying different things in public. Do they mean these things authentically? In some cases, they almost certainly do. There has been a resurgence of white nationalist sentiment in this country. I think it's interesting, though, to try to trace this back and to think honestly about how we got to here. And I do think that a lot of the renewed interest in race and identity things for both noble purposes and otherwise has actually helped to create the circumstances that we see now. That is not erasing any of the responsibility that people have for embracing and endorsing these kinds of sentiments, even in private group chats where they're doing this kind of idiotic locker room talk. They deserve to face consequences. But I do think...
I think the most consequential aspect of this is, once again, the fact that liberals only care about the aesthetics. Because, like, dude, the actual theory being put to practice is being conducted by the likes of Stephen Miller on major U.S. cities right now with the Department of Homeland Security. Like, when these guys talk about, like, oh, this is like locker room talk, and some of these people believe it, but, like, I don't give a shit about what these guys are saying in private when what they're doing in public is literally more violent and more consequential. Why is it that liberals only realize that this is f***ed up when it's people saying Hitlerian shit in private and not when they are doing Hitlerian shit in public? This has been my position from the start, by the way. I said this when the revelations first came out. It's not the language that they're using that is offensive. I mean, it is offensive, but the consequences, the real human impact of that sort of ideology being not only expressed, but being followed through on, is the white nativist anti-immigration policy. But a lot of people, I think, a lot of people in mainstream media, because I do think that like a lot of liberals have radicalized against this admin in pretty meaningful ways, like average Americans have. But I think a lot of people in media still have no capacity to look at state violence and state policies that are morally repugnant and reflective of the Hitlerian the Hitlerian promotion that they're saying is morally repugnant right now, and say it's wrong, it's gross, it's Hitler shit. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to watch them do this.
That J.D. Vance's comments about this are worth.
My point is, I hope people take it one step further and talk about the actual issue of consequence here, which is the unrestrained violence of this administration that not only says those things behind closed doors, but actually reflects on them with actionable policy items that harm people. That lady's glaring daggers, that's our GOAT. What are you talking about? That's Ms. Welch.
Focusing in on for a moment, this has shades of that whole eating the cats, eating the dogs nonsense from during the campaign cycle.
I mean, he would know all about that.
He is a capable spokesperson for this administration, and I mean that as both a compliment and a dig, in the sense that he seems willing to go out and defend just about anything. It's weird, the places where they decide to draw the lines. I'm not sure why they decide to draw it here. I do think the hypocrisy he's underscoring, though, is real.
I know why,
as well.
because I've seen the places where these comments have been defended. And I think J.D. Vance is looking down the line at 2028, and he's looking at who he's calling kids right now are going to be the Republican operatives and the sort of the future of the Republican Party. And I think he's lining himself up. But you make an important point. The comments in the group chat are terrible and stupid, but I find it way more interesting that J.D. Vance has chosen to defend it than these guys that nobody knows or cares about. Why did he choose that this is suddenly the sort of thing that he chalks up to a youthful indiscretion when some of the people in this chat were like a year or two?
By the way, J.D. Vance is 40 years old. So the people that he's calling children are like 5, sometimes 6 years younger than he is. Okay? Just so you understand, the people that he is calling children are at most like 10 years younger than he is, okay?
Too younger than him. He's 41.
Hard to say. Have to ask him. I'll tell you, did not defend it. I mean, the head of Young Republicans.
Right.
They exiled these folks right away. We took swift action, and I appreciate that accountability. I'm not going to defend it. I didn't even read some of these tweets, but they sound. I've heard they're bad, and I believe it. I bet a lot of these guys are the same people who troll me online for the most part. So I guarantee it's a lot of the same folks.
God. Yeah, they were calling him Eye Patch McCain, which low-key is a banger for the record. Like, I mean, let's be real. That's a good one.
On the other hand, why you're seeing some Republicans shrug their shoulders, I mean, I'll tell you why. Here's what they would here's their sentiment. We just watched Charlie Kirk get shot in the neck. You know, we watched our president, while he was campaigning, almost get killed. A bullet whizzed by his head. So there's real violence, and then there's this disgusting, despicable stuff that is said in private. And like, it is disgusting, despicable.
I agree with what he's saying. Woke Dan Crenshaw is right. Except no one seems to realize that the despicable, continuing, real violence is not just the adventurism of sorts or a singular instance of retaliatory violence from a lone actor, but it's actually the state's mechanism of violence. Mass deportations, death, destruction, kidnapping, detainments, unjustifiable, all of it. All of it is violent. That's what I think is way more consequential than what these guys love to call locker room talk.
They're not going to see me try and defend it. But I'll give you that perspective from some people who might feel that way.
Ashley?
Look, I think what happened to Charlie Kirk was awful. I said it. I think an assassination attempt on anybody, including the then candidate, Trump, and now president. It's awful. I also think that there's a different conversation, right? So I don't take any comfort that this is done in private, because if you say the N-word in private, you think it in public. And that means that at some point in my life, I may be sitting across somebody who thinks I'm the N-word. And so that person may be the person who has to give me a job one day, or is a police officer that pulls me over one day, despite being articulate, or he knows what I'm talking about.
Gets the call back.
Is that an inside joke?
It is inside. It's between me and the brother.
You gotta watch the show to know what she's talking about.
Watch Table of Five last time we were on together.
Right.
But that's what I mean, and that was what it manifests. It means that could be somebody's teacher one day. Or it means that could be somebody's congressperson one day. And what am I supposed to think as a Black American, as a person who...
I think if woke comes back, we should set the rules ahead of time that no one is allowed to use it against their left flank. If we're bringing woke back, we can only use it in the rightward direction. Okay? Cynically weaponizing woke against those who want to improve material conditions is unacceptable. No more infighting. No more Fed posting. No more woke of the day. It is simply a weapon to wield against the Axis, against the enemies of progress, against the enemies of everyday working class individuals. No more will we wield our own weapons against our allies. Okay? That is the true path to the promised land. No more friendly fire incidents. Now, I don't think that that's going to happen. Let's be real, because I think woke is primarily deployed at the institutional level against the left, but we shall see.
Could be called the N-word. Now, I think it's great that the young Republicans push folks out. And I also think it's important on the left when we say, or not we, because I don't do that, but when people say terrible things, that those things be condemned. And that's what I was saying earlier, is like, we got to call balls and strikes. Yeah. But there's something bigger than it's just being private. These people live their lives publicly every day. And if you walk through your life...
Hasan, the left are the only people that care about wokeness. You can't use it effectively rightward. No. Look at Dan Crenshaw. No, there are still Republicans in dude, I talked about this basically in every election, but certainly in this last election cycle as well. There is a level of permissible racism, permissible misogyny, permissible bigotry that you can engage in, you can entertain, and people won't punish you for it. But when you go beyond that certain point, even right-wingers will go, ugh, gross, don't say that, I don't like that. It's the distinction between a guy who embodies all of the political virtues of a Klansman, who will still get very upset when someone says that they are a part of the Klan. Okay? There's a difference between, it's like the N-word equation. Okay? It's like the N-word threshold. And I don't mean nuclear. There are plenty of right-wingers who personally embody all of the violent, vile, racist stereotyping that comes along with this one word when talking about Black people, who will actively shy away from using said word and will never defend it. Okay? That is beyond the confines of permissibility. Do you understand? This is the reason why a lot of Republicans who are in the public eye are still going, oh, this is abhorrent. This is morally repugnant. I can't believe it. Because these guys in the group chat were just straight up saying they love Adolf Hitler. You can't do that. You just can't do that. You can't do that. That's like, you go above and beyond.
And you don't know somebody thinks you're a watermelon person, or that you should be raped to the point of suicide. What are we doing?
Hold
well, there are people saying things like
Let me
this
finish eating
in
real
public,
quick.
And some of these people are conservative adjacent, or they would perhaps just describe themselves as conservatives, like Nick Fuentes. And Nick Fuentes is a guy who has been on a number of prominent podcasts in recent weeks, who just today announced that he's got some major announcement and will be sitting down with some other conservative figure. Conservatives have to know that this is taking place in the ether right now.
I mean, I'm like,
and speaking out about this.
I'm like on the front lines of that battle. I think you probably know.
No, Congressman, I know you. I'm not directing this at you in particular. I'm just saying that we should be speaking out.
I mean, I have often argued that you know, this is not about canceling people, but just creating the boundaries of your movement. I mean, would you say that Republicans need to establish?
Well, of course you're right.
Just as Democrats do. I'm not excluding Democrats from this, but just as Democrats do.
You have freedom of association. Like if you say a bunch of nasty things and you're part of my organization, I have every right to kick you out.
Oh, deleted post show main Senate candidate's raw view on politics. Kind of fire. We're going to shoot the we're going to talk some and then afterwards, we're going to be live viewing the New York mayoral debate that's going to be taking place. And of course, there is most likely, like I'm giving it a 98% chance that I will be used as a line of attack against Zoran. And I hope he doesn't me, but who knows?